721 here, Big 550 KTRS, and Bowen Dental Care is a proud sponsor of this segment. Dr. Jeffrey Lowell, he is one of the best, and he's with us every Wednesday, professor of surgery and pediatrics at Washington University. Good morning, Dr. Lowell.
Hey, McGraw. Hey, Kelly.
Hey, Doc.
We should say you're joining us via Skype, and you do it every week. Let's talk about this measles outbreak. And as you sit as a world-renowned doctor, you've got to be pulling the last follicles of hair out of your head as you watch this national debate about this measles vaccine.
Okay, well, that's both a comment on my hair and
I know.
and also and also kind of how crazy it is. I really don't understand it. You were talking a little bit earlier about Ebola. I don't think anybody really had much discussion that people with Ebola should be treated as the best science has to offer in 2015, and that if there was a vaccine, people would probably want it. And now we're arguing about a vaccine that has been proven safe and has eradicated or had eradicated measles in 1990. And now it's back because we haven't been immunizing our kids. And this is, there's lots of things, I think, in science that we can and should debate. This isn't one of them.
I blame the media for some of this because let's take a look at what happened with Ebola, which is only contagious through a bodily fluid exchange of some kind, right? You sneeze on somebody or you kiss somebody or blood or whatever, right? Some type of fluid. Whereas measles is airborne and can stay airborne for up to 2 weeks in a certain room if somebody has the measles. So measles is much more contagious, and yet everybody wanted to throw everyone who had Ebola out of the country. Whereas with measles, they're like, the elected officials like, well, there's a level of freedom here that we really need to pay attention to. It makes no sense.
It doesn't make sense to me either. If you haven't been immunized against measles and you're around someone with measles, the chance you're going to get it is upwards of 90%. Just around somebody with measles, like in the same room, because you can catch measles virus by just breathing and swallowing it. It's aerosolized. And you can die, we don't like to talk about it, but you can definitely die from measles. The statistic nationally is about 2 in 1,000 will die from measles. It's not a high number, but if you're one of the two, it's a very big number. And the other thing that affects that we really don't talk about is the other kids that can be affected, and this is related to what we call the herd effect of immunizations. And so, I'm a transplant surgeon, and I take care of a lot of kids. All of my kids are immunosuppressed, and they can't receive the measles vaccine, which is a attenuated live vaccine. Same is true with kids who have cancer and have gotten chemotherapy. So they're relying on the herd effect of everyone around them being immunized. And so if everyone around them isn't immunized, then there's a possibility that someone around them can get measles. And if someone who's immunosuppressed or has cancer gets measles, that's a very big deal.
All right, go back for a second. Hold on a second. You're saying that there are some people in which the vaccine just doesn't work on, and you don't know who that is. But many children who have other issues can't physically take the vaccine. So
right, there's a medical reason why they can't take it. Now, I want to back up. This vaccine is very effective. I would say, if you've gotten your 2 doses by age 4, the chance you'll have effective immunity is way upwards of 98+%.
Okay, that was my next question. Many adults are walking around saying, "Oh my goodness, am I exposing myself to measles?" If you have gotten immunized, you're fine?
Well, I don't think we know that, because in 1990 measles was determined to be gone. So now that there's greater amounts of measles around, it's possible that you may need to be re-immunized. That's something I think that's unknown and still needs to be decided and talked about amongst people. Up until when we had eradicated, up 25 years ago, when we had eradicated measles essentially in the U.S., you didn't need to be. But now, if people are 80 years old and there is measles, it's possible you might. I'm not saying yes or no. I'm definitely not expert on this, but at least it's something that will likely have to be talked about.
Is it going to go away now that it's back and it was formally eradicated?
Well,
Now,
it can.
What
It
happens
definitely
now?
can. Well, our vaccine is very effective. Unlike some vaccines, like our flu vaccine, every year it bounces back and forth about how effective and not effective it is because this flu virus mutates a lot. The vaccine is not, some years is not super effective. But the measles vaccine is very effective, so that if all of our population were immunized against the measles vaccine, it's highly likely we would eradicate it again.
I certainly I don't want you to break any confidences, doctor, but is it a situation where there are mothers who come in to the office and the pediatricians say, okay, let's get you scheduled for your shots, and they say, no, I'm not giving my kid the measles shot?
I think that's what happens. I mean, that's not the type of practice that I have, but that's what I've heard happens, right?
Yeah.
I'm just concerned about now that the measles are back, what other childhood diseases? I mean, what could be next?
Well, we talk fairly regularly about whooping cough that goes around college campuses, pertussis, and that's also something that we're immunized against, and that's for sure something. Worldwide, polio has not been eradicated, and when I was over in East Africa and the Middle East, polio is a very big deal in some of these small, poorly developed countries. We some things that we're not going to be able to beat or fix for a long, long time. Some cancers we're not going to be able to beat or fix. Some I don't foresee that we're going to be able to cure diabetes for a while. Hardening of the arteries is going to be with us for a long time. But some things we can fix, and this is definitely one of them.
Well, last question or last comment, doctor, and that is, in all of this measles talk over the last 2 weeks or whatever, I have yet to see anybody, any reputable doctor, any doctor at all over the last 2 weeks in the 8 million media outlets there are today come out and say that a measles shot is bad for you. Right? Every doctor that's been testifying in front of Congress in conversations like this, you doctors all say the same thing, and that is, get your measles vaccine. It is mind-boggling to me that there are parents out there who in all of that overwhelming evidence, think they know better than all of these world-class scientists.
I'm not going to argue that point.
All right. Dr. Jeffrey Lowell, professor of surgery and pediatrics at Washington University. Doctor, you would highly recommend everybody get their measles vaccine?
I would highly recommend everyone get the whole prescribed course of immunizations that kids are supposed to get, in addition to getting a flu shot every year.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, Dr. Jeffrey Lowell. Thanks for checking in, Doc.
Thank you.
Okay, bye McGraw, bye Kelly.
You got it. 7:30 here, Big 550 KTRS. Dr. Jeffrey Lowell joining us via Skype, professor of surgery and pediatrics at Washington University, world-class transplant surgeon. You don't get any more intelligent. You don't get a better scientist. You don't get a better doctor. So I know.
And former hostage negotiator.
And a former hostage negotiator, one of the best and the brightest. And if you don't believe him, I don't know what else to tell you. If you just don't believe him, the color of the sky in your world is just different than the rest of us. 7:30 here, Big 550 KTRS. My sister almost made a big mistake down in Arizona.
What did she almost do?
She almost went to a big box store to buy an appliance. And I said, what you need to do is you need to go to a local store and get the appliance of your choice. Her refrigerator in the garage was out, and so she's like, that's old.